Welcome to the Explainer. I want you to just imagine for a second holding a single blade of fresh green grass in your hand. It looks incredibly simple, doesn't it? I mean, it's just a basic piece of plant life. But if you were to hand that exact blade of grass to a dairy cow, within the next 24 to 48 hours, a portion of that plant could literally be transformed into a glass of nutrient-dense milk. Today, we're going to map out that incredible biological journey and explore one of the absolute most sophisticated manufacturing processes on planet Earth. So it really begs the question, right? How does nature actually accomplish such an extraordinary transformation? Think about the massive biological undertaking required here. You and I, we cannot survive on grass. Our human bodies simply cannot extract the energy that's locked away inside those tough plant fibers. Yet somehow, the dairy cow takes this completely indigestible plant matter and converts it into one of nature's most complete and universally consumed foods. To understand exactly how, we have to look deep inside the anatomy. Okay, let's dive right into this. Here is our anatomical map for today's journey through the dairy cow's digestive system. We'll start with 1, the first bite, then move to 2, the fermentation chamber, 3, sorting and cud chewing, 4, the true stomach, and finally 5, synthesizing the milk. Starting off with section 1, the first bite, gathering the grass. Well, before any of that complex internal digestion can actually happen, the cow has to physically harvest the feed. Now, the human mouth and the cow's mouth are built for entirely different tasks. We naturally bite our food using sharp upper and lower teeth. But if you look closely at a cow's skull, you're going to notice something pretty surprising. They actually don't have top front teeth. No way, right? Instead, a cow uses this long, highly muscular tongue to essentially wrap around and pull the grass right into her mouth. She then presses her lower incisors up against this tough, leathery surface on her upper jaw, which is called a dental pad. So she tears the grass off rather than cleanly biting through it. It's an incredibly efficient harvesting tool. Once the grass is in her mouth, she chews it just enough to break it into smaller pieces and mix it with saliva before swallowing. And speaking of saliva, this brings us to a frankly staggering number. An adult dairy cow can produce over 100 liters of saliva every single day. Just picture a large bathtub filled to the absolute brim. That is how much saliva one single cow generates daily. But this isn't just about moistening dry grass. This saliva is a potent chemical cocktail. It contains high levels of bicarbonate and phosphate. These are natural buffering substances that are absolutely crucial for keeping the cow's stomach environment from becoming dangerously acidic. Without this massive daily influx of saliva, the cow's entire digestive ecosystem would literally collapse. Let's move to section 2 and see how this builds. The fermentation chamber, entering the rumen. As that saliva-soaked feed travels down the esophagus, it drops into the very first massive compartment of the cow's stomach, the rumen. Now, while people often just casually call this a stomach, it actually operates much more like a gigantic industrial fermentation vat. In a mature dairy cow, this single chamber can hold well over 100 liters of digesting material. I mean, it takes up a massive portion of the cow's entire left side. But the most important thing about the rumen isn't its sheer scale, it's who actually lives inside it. Welcome to the microscopic workforce. Because cows actually, just like humans, cannot naturally digest cellulose, which is the tough main component of plant cell walls. Instead, they outsource the entire job to a sprawling, hidden ecosystem. The rumen is home to billions upon billions of bacteria, protozoa, fungi, and archaea. These microscopic organisms are the true heroes of our explainer today. They physically attach themselves to the floating plant fibers in the rumen and rapidly begin breaking them down through the process of fermentation. So the crucial point is that this microbial fermentation yields the chemical byproducts that actually keep the cow alive. As the microbes break down the grass, they release volatile fatty acids, or VFAs, specifically acetate, propionate, and butyrate. These VFAs are rapidly absorbed right through the rumen wall, and they become the cow's primary source of energy. It's really a perfect symbiotic relationship. Now, it is definitely worth noting that this fermentation process also produces gases like carbon dioxide and methane, which the cow naturally burps out as part of the daily cycle. Moving right along to section 3, sorting and cud chewing, the reticulum's role. So as you might guess, not all of that grass breaks down immediately. Right adjacent to the rumen is a smaller compartment called the reticulum. It essentially works like a biological sorting gate. The reticulum decides what is fully fermented and what, frankly, needs a bit more work. Larger, unfermented feed particles are trapped and formed into a soft, dense mass that we know as cud. And then something totally fascinating happens. The cow throws it in reverse. The rumination cycle begins. Step 1, the cud travels back up the esophagus. Step 2, the cow meticulously re-chews this feed in her mouth while resting. Step 3, she mixes it with gallons of fresh buffering saliva. And step 4, she swallows it back down into the rumen. This mechanical grinding massively increases the surface area of the plant fibers, giving those billions of microbes much more room to attach and ferment. It is just a brilliant biological loop.
Let's dive into Section 4, the true stomach, final digestion.
Once those feed particles are sufficiently microscopic and fully fermented, they wash right out of the rumen. First, this highly liquid material passes through a tight opening into the third stomach compartment, which is called the omasum. The inside of the omasum looks remarkably like the pages of a thick book. These thin, muscular folds act kind of like a giant sponge. Their primary job is to squeeze and absorb large amounts of water and essential minerals back into the cow's body, concentrating the remaining feed before it drops into the final chamber. And this brilliantly illustrates the dual nature of a cow's digestive system. We have the rumen on one side, which is a neutral microbial fermentation chamber. But then the feed enters the abomasum, often called the true stomach. The abomasum functions exactly like our human stomach. It is highly acidic, using strong hydrochloric acid and digestive enzymes to break down proteins. But here is the most incredible plot twist of this entire biological journey. The acid in the abomasum doesn't just digest the remaining plant proteins. It actually digests the billions of microbes that washed out of the rumen. That microbial biomass is completely broken down, providing the cow with an incredibly rich, high-quality source of protein. The cow feeds the microbes grass, and in return, the microbes eventually feed the cow. From the abomasum, this rich soup of partially digested material enters the small intestine. Here, pancreatic and intestinal enzymes finish off the job. If we were to zoom in on this cross-section to a microscopic level, we'd see amino acids, fatty acids, vitamins, and minerals crossing the lining of the intestinal wall, leaving the digestive tract for good and absorbing directly into the cow's flowing circulatory system. And that brings us to Section 5, synthesizing the milk, the biological manufacturing plant. The grass has been dismantled, and now, well, it's time to build. That nutrient-rich blood is pumped throughout the cow's entire body, but an enormous volume of it is routed straight to our ultimate destination, the mammary gland, or the udder. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is that the udder is not just a biological filter, it's an active, highly complex manufacturing plant. Mammary cells pull raw materials right out of the blood and actively construct milk from scratch. Glucose is pulled in and synthesized into lactose, or milk sugar. Amino acids, many of them derived directly from those digested rumen microbes we talked about, are assembled into complex milk proteins, like casein. And those volatile fatty acids, particularly acetate from the rumen, are transformed into rich milk fat. It is a highly demanding, energetically expensive process of chemical engineering. Minerals, vitamins, antibodies, and large amounts of water are carefully balanced and added to the mix. Finally, this perfectly regulated superfood is secreted into tiny, hollow, grape-like structures inside the udder called alveoli. The milk is stored safely in these microscopic vaults until the cow is milked or until her calf suckles. And just like that, the 48-hour journey is complete. We've tracked a single blade of grass as it was torn, swallowed, fermented, regurgitated, acidified, absorbed, and finally synthesized into a glass of milk. But it leaves us with a final provocative thought. Can a massive dairy cow actually survive without the billions of microorganisms it can't even see? The resounding answer is absolutely not. Without that microscopic workforce, no cow could survive on grass, and no glass of milk would ever exist. These unseen heroes are the absolute foundation of dairy science, and they will be exactly what we dive into in our next explainer. Until then, keep asking questions and keep exploring the incredible science right in front of you.